So, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Egypt and welcome to Alexandria. Welcome to the International Conference on Evaluating Climate Change and Development. We are gathered here in the new Bibliotheca Alexandrina, heir to the ancient Library of Alexandria, a place intended to be a forum for international talent to address issues of importance to the world. By providing a forum for such gatherings, the library reminds us of our common humanity and our common destiny on this planet. The talent gathered here from the four corners of the globe is quite impressive. We will need all the experience that you possess, all the knowledge that you have mastered, and all the wisdom that you can deploy in order to address the greatest issues facing the global environment today, as we continue to pursue unsustainable development patterns and as the specter of devastation induced by climate change hovers over us. Our development patterns are unsustainable and grossly unfair. Consider the paradox of our times. We live in a world of plenty, of dazzling scientific advances and technological breakthroughs. Adventures in cyberspace are at hand, yet our times are marred by conflict, violence, economic uncertainties, and tragic poverty. Globalization grows, fueled by the integration of the world economies, a revolution in computers, telecommunications, and the non-stop activities of capital markets that transact over $2.4 trillion a day, enough to buy and sell the whole GNP of the United States in a week. Equally global, however, are the increasing inequities between societies and within societies. A generation ago, the top 20% was 30 times as rich as the bottom 20%. Today, they are 80 times as rich. And poverty is a global phenomenon. There are rich people in poor countries and poor people in rich countries. But poverty remains enormously more pervasive and acute in the South. In the 47 least developed countries of the world, 10% of the world's population subsists on less than 1/2% of the world's income. And some 40,000 people die from hunger-related causes every day. Over 1 billion people are compelled to live on less than $1 a day. And despite the increases in income in places like China and the improvements of diets recorded there, hunger and malnutrition are everywhere. The current maddening increase in food prices is pushing hundreds of millions of the poor and the destitute into chronic malnourishment and hunger. And in the face of such a challenge, the rich subsidize the transformation of food into biofuels, subsidizing burning the food of the poor to drive the cars of the rich. The scourge of AIDS is devastating entire populations. Chronic diseases like malaria and bilharzia continue to claim countless lives and debilitate millions of people. Meanwhile, the big pharmaceutical companies are focusing on the medicines of the rich and ignoring the needs of the poor. Efforts to address these needs rely on charities and the UN agencies as their primary support. Our environment and ecosystems are under siege. The marine fisheries of the world are grossly overexploited. The soils are rapidly eroding in many parts of the planet. Water is becoming scarcer as underground aquifers are drawn down faster than their natural recharge rate, and pollution reduces the usability of the available fresh water. Deforestation is still continuing at the rate of some 25 million hectares per year, and the global challenges of desertification and loss of biodiversity demand redoubled efforts. Women tend to suffer the most from these problems. They are the custodians of the environment and its victims. They fetch the water, cook the meals, cope with the impact of unsanitary conditions on their children, and usually grow the crops that feed the family. The more precarious living conditions inevitably challenge them first. And we must therefore redouble our efforts at educating girls and empowering women, for they are on the front lines of confronting the new problems created by environmental degradation, and they will be the vanguard in adopting new approaches to sustainability. To that global stock of environmental problems, we're adding a flow of new challenges due to population growth that is averaging 90 million persons per year, mostly in the poorest countries. They will need more food, more land, and more water. Against this backdrop, attention to climate change takes on an even more pressing urgency. Climate change will devastate the developing world. It will shorten the growing seasons for agriculture, bring about more uncertain rainfall, and alternate floods and droughts on those who can least afford to cope with such challenges. The melting of the Arctic ice may be no more than a decade away, and the potential catastrophe of rising sea levels requires urgent action to mitigate its effects, if not to entirely reverse these trends. In short, it is a time of global crisis where imaginative leadership is required, where experts have to go beyond the many small partial analyses and start working on proposals that will reverse current trends, not merely propose a band-aid when radical surgery is required. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as I look around this room, it is clear that you have assembled some of the most experienced people in the world. You have especially gathered experts who have labored long and hard at evaluating past errors and successes. We need such insights, for the lessons of the past must guide the designs for the future. You have identified talent and expertise in many disciplines, and that is all to the good. For the nature of the challenges, as I have described them, are not circumscribed by any one specialty. The analytical inputs of many disciplines will be required to craft an effective, broad-based program of action to counter the many interlinked challenges. A new energy policy, a new approach to agriculture and water use, new industries, a new vision for the cities of the future, and a new concept of our relationship to the ecosystems on which we and all other species depend must all permeate the new thinking. It is not enough to talk of minor savings here and there, nor is it enough to postpone actions indefinitely as study after study continues to refine the already dire predictions we have all heard many times over. A new broad-based approach to promote sustainable development is needed. That in turn will require the commitment and efforts of many actors to make it work. Government, private sector, and non-government organizations will all have to work together at the local, national, regional, and international levels if we are to achieve the desired results. I sincerely hope that your deliberations will yield such recommendations to all the actors who must be involved if humanity is to rise to the challenge of climate change and sustainable development in the 21st century. Actually, we have already shown that all of us, the scientific experts, the international community, governments, the private sector, and the NGOs, can collaborate to make a difference in addressing global environmental challenges. One of the signal achievements of the last century was the Montreal Protocol for the ozone. Egyptians played a special role in that agreement and its implementation, as well as in the creation of the Global Environment Facility. Dr. Mustafa Tolba, then Director General of UNEP, Omar El-Arini, head of the fund of the Montreal Protocol, Mohammed El-Ashri, founding CEO of the Global Environment Facility, and Ismail Serageldin, then Vice President for Environmentally and Socially Sustainable Development at the World Bank. I'm delighted to see that some of them are here with us today. We must draw strength and inspiration from past achievements, just as we confront present shortcomings. What was done once must be done again. The Kyoto Protocol, imperfect as it may have been, was a major step forward. It is not a time for finger-pointing and recriminations. It is a time for visionary thinking and forward planning. Now we must go beyond Kyoto and devise a response that will, like the Montreal Protocol, succeed in engaging the world and in reversing the trends that have led us to where we are. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the time for action is at hand. Youth demands from us that we take seriously the responsibilities of managing this planet. For as it has been wisely noted, we did not inherit this earth from our parents, we borrowed it from our children. I wish you a very successful conference. Thank you.